Usually on this channel, I try to be as constructive as possible. I try to find at least one nice thing to say about each and every film. I look at everything I see realistically from a creative standpoint, and I am pretty much always trying to leave people with a positive feeling rather than a negative one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we have a film where I can't do any of that. Suicide Squad isn't a complex bundle of goods and bads. It doesn't have a few missteps that knock it down the ladder of quality, and it isn't something that I can understand from the point of view of a creator. It's just total garbage, from the core all the way out to the rotting exterior. It's funny, I remember not too long ago, maybe a year ago, I was actually kinda really looking forward to seeing Suicide Squad more than any other DC movie. I thought it clearly had the potential to turn things around. But it didn't. In the last 20 years or so, superhero films have started to take over the film market in a way that few people likely could have foreseen. And it's gotten to the point where the superhero formula has started to seem fairly predictable. We've seen origin movies, movies where the hero meets an evil version of himself, movies where the hero realizes the real-world consequences to him existing as a hero in a world where heroes used to not exist. We get it. While it seems that the DC and Marvel communities will be enough to support most movies put out by the companies, it's hard not to see how things are starting to feel a little bit overdone. The Avengers sort of changed everything for the superhero genre, and not just because of the obvious fact that it solidified the existence of the expanded universe gimmick. The Avengers felt big, it felt epic, it felt satisfying. A city is blowing up, an alien race is gonna take the planet over, and only our coordinated bunch of super freaks can save the day. The problem came when every other film wanted to tap into the success of that film. And suddenly a city was always getting blown up, an alien race was always gonna take over the planet, and a coordinated bunch of super freaks was always the only people that could save the day.
It's an expanded universe, it's parallelism, it's shattering of events.
Bullshit! This isn't some big webbed out plan to make it all interconnected and logical. It's just that everyone got lazy and decided to make the same movie over and over again. A big problem is that it sets up these awful limitations for the industry, where there are a lot of cool stories and characters that you can't pull in because it's not a storyline that would lead up to something to the scale of a city being destroyed by a giant space worm. Where Suicide Squad had potential was the idea that this was going to be a movie about the characters that could not be included in these city blows up Marvel and DC films. It could work if they give the characters proper introductions and then gave them a storyline that made some sense. Guess what they didn't do though? Oh good, it's another one of those movies where a city explodes, aliens almost take over the planet, and the only people who can stop them are... Well, naturally, to complete the joke, I want to call the main characters super freaks, but I literally think that only 2 of them have superpowers of any kind. The rest of them... they just seem to have guns. Every critic who's ever reviewed this has pointed out the idea that the government actually approving of this team makes absolutely no goddamn sense. If you haven't seen the movie, you're probably wondering why this is something that everyone has been able to pick out so easily. Well, it's because they dedicate 40 minutes to setting it all up, and they still don't properly explain it. So the government has this idea where they should get together a team of supervillains who they can control so that if an evil Superman ever shows up, they would have sort of like a backup team that could defeat them.
We got contingency plans for nukes in North Korea, anthrax in our mail, we got fluoride in our water, but what happens if the next Superman becomes a terrorist?
They introduce this one army dude whose only job in the movie is to point out obvious flaws in this woman's plan. And they're like all of the flaws that everyone points out all the time. But she keeps like sneaking her way out of acknowledging everything he says. And in the end, she just distracts them all by sending like one of the superheroes to steal secrets from the Russians or something. Like, what is this woman's motivations for trying to make this Suicide Squad? Does she actually think that it's going to work? Because spoilers, it doesn't. The whole movie only happens because of this scene. They're not counteracting a problem in this movie, they're creating it. Why are we supposed to agree that this team needs to be made when we literally don't even get a single intelligent sentence suggesting that this is actually the case? For people out of the loop, I'll go into the quick list of why this plan, in fact, makes absolutely no goddamn sense. Number 1. All of these bad guys are untrustable and they murder people. Number 2, superheroes also exist. They're not evil and they don't murder people. Number 3, none of these supervillains are actually strong enough to defeat anything that isn't human. Number 4, it would be bad if anyone found out that the government was funding and supporting supervillains. In the film it's said that they're gonna blame the supervillains for all this, except how are they gonna do that? You're sending out a small militia of soldiers to protect the squad at all costs. Furthermore, they're clearly only there because the soldiers are also there. Who's gonna see that from like a windowsill and say, oh wow, I guess this is all those wacky supervillains just going crazy. Don't get me wrong, I understand the fact that there are going to be situations where the American government is gonna want something done and they aren't gonna be able to get Superman to do it. This being if they want to do something illegal, or if they want to have someone killed. You see, if they had gone about the process of finding something for the Suicide Squad to do in this movie that like a superhero team wouldn't want to do, then this movie would have made some sense and it would have actually felt cool and special. But they didn't do that because that would have meant making a different movie than every other movie they make. The talk about how superheroes are changing the world thing is really starting to be a grating cliche in these movies. If you're going to reshape your in-universe world so that they have fundamentally different thoughts and ideals than we do, then it's only going to eventually lead to us no longer being able to understand or relate to these characters. Like, don't you see that this will eventually get to the point where these superhero movies are going to be screwed over because it will no longer make sense for anyone to be surprised by a city blowing up or a superhero flying around? Instead of introducing us to these characters in some sort of cool or memorable real-time way, we instead get to sit down in this sort of dark, stingy room for 20 actual minutes, while all of these characters that we'll never be expected to recognize or care about just read Wikipedia articles about each person off one by one. These include a guy who can shoot things, a guy who can shoot fire, a guy who is a crocodile, a guy who throws boomerangs, a guy whose head explodes, I mean a guy who can climb anything, and a woman that has katanas. Oh, and a gangster's slutty girlfriend who has a baseball bat. This is your team of people who could kill Superman? Will Smith plays Deadshot, who, as I mentioned, can kill anyone at any time and seeks high rewards for it. His backstory is that he has a daughter that can't act.
Daddy, I know you do bad things. Don't worry, I still love you.
Truly tragic. He gets taken in by the Batman. Will Smith is probably the best part of the movie. Maybe I just legitimately have terrible taste in everything. But I just kinda like Will Smith. He adds a little bit of charm to everything that makes it a little bit less shitty than it could be without him. Why do you think no one saw the second Independence Day? Because Will Smith was the only reason that the first Independence Day wasn't entirely unwatchable. But Will Smith is also a terrible pick for this movie, in that you just can't possibly imagine him actually killing anyone. As an audience member, whenever you see him on screen, you just mainly forget about the fact that he murders people until someone brings it up in a weird piece of dialogue.
How many people you killed, man?
And then you're like, oh yeah, that is weird. Isn't this the guy who said that he didn't want to curse in his rap music because his mom asked him not to? Yeah, that guy's a real mad dog, he is. Then there's El Diablo, the only person who has actual superpowers that actually help out majorly in the end. He can shoot fire, but he avoids using his powers for most of the movie because he could end any situation in like 2 seconds and the writers wanted to push that back as far as they could. He has a backstory that is only good because you don't really expect it to be in the movie, that being that he killed his wife and children by accident in a fit of rage. Killer Croc is a crocodile mutation from Gotham who is big and angry. For part of the film he seems kinda cool and quiet, and it seems like they're doing him pretty well. But then he starts talking and he immediately stops being something that you can take seriously. He constantly looks and sounds like he's being dubbed by a voice actor with absolutely no talent at the very last minute, and furthermore his lines are so out of place with the rest of his demeanor that he left me amazingly puzzled throughout the entire production.
I like her.
How could I forget Captain Boomerang? Oh wait, very easily. Captain Boomerang is the stupidest villain I've ever heard of. The film takes him seriously because it doesn't have a sense of tone at all. His superpower is that he has boomerangs that always come back to him. His backstory is literally that he robbed a diamond store, killed his partner to get more of the money, and then he was stopped by the Flash. All of that made him worthy to be on the team that would somehow kill Superman if they needed to. Their actual explanation is that since the Flash didn't kill him, he can stand up against any metahuman.
But he tangled with a metahuman and lived to tell about it.
Okay. Is Boomerang Man like a racist stereotype? Because he's like Australian? Katana Woman has a katana. She usually speaks in Japanese, which somehow doesn't need translated to anyone around her. She's kinda like the Chewbacca of the group in that regard. Also, she'll occasionally speak in English just to prove that she can do it. This guy is in the movie to get his head blown up. Hey Quinton, did you know that him getting his head blown up is actually a reference to a comic story? Hey commenter, did you know that I don't fucking care? I don't comprehend this thing that people do, where they try to defend something that a movie does by pointing out that it's a reference to a comic. Like, if there was a comic book that was literally like this movie, panel by panel, then it would be a shitty comic book. The biggest problem with this movie is that they don't have a good selection of bad guys to choose from. When you actually look over the overarching pantheon of the DC continuum, the well-known bad guys mainly come from the Batman and Superman comic stories. Those also happen to be the ones that are the least terrible and hokey, where you could probably write like a college essay on character themes about how each one interacts with the superhero in question. And then you go over to like any other comic and they're so fucking stupid. Like, remove the characters that are always just the main character but evil, and then look at like the most famous villains from every series. The Flash has a monkey that uses mind control technology. Wonder Woman has like a cheetah woman. Write me a thesis paper on the themes of the Flash and the monkey and Wonder Woman and the Cheetah Woman and how they play off of each other in terms of the idea of what the superheroes represent. Most DC bad guys belong in an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold. Furthermore, the way they've set this up, Batman is the only character in this who's actually been doing this for a significant amount of time. Superman's had 2 movies, none of his biggest baddies are gonna exist yet, Lex Luthor barely exists yet. Same for Flash and even Wonder Woman, who we know has a history. She doesn't have any villains right now. So it's all just stock Batman villains who didn't meet the pay grade. And the problem with Batman villains is they're not designed to go up against very powerful things, because Batman doesn't have real powers. Don't take it as an insult, but he is just a guy in a suit who can fight well. Then there's Harley Quinn, and while we're at it, the Joker. I don't get these versions of the characters, nor why people defend them. Isn't the main appeal of the DC films that they capture the tone, writing, and imagery of the comics very closely? Isn't that why people like Batman v Superman? So what is supposed to be appealing about this weird, pimped-out Joker reboot? What do people like about the Joker suddenly driving expensive cars and hanging out at nightclubs? I can't imagine Ben Affleck's Batman and this Joker being in the same room, let alone interacting with each other. They don't feel like they're from the same interpretation. Like, Batfleck is all battered and wise, and the Joker looks like he just robbed a Hot Topic. Isn't there a really good line in Batman v Superman where Batfleck is all like, "Might just be the Gotham City in me. We have a bad history of freaks dressed like clowns." How is this guy dressed up like a clown? He looks nothing like a clown at all. And what does he even do in this universe? This film doesn't elaborate on him. We're just supposed to know already because we're all supposed to be Batman fans. And as a Batman fan, when I see the Joker doing stuff like going around to nightclubs or riding around in his car, I keep expecting a twist. Like that he has a plan that is causing him to do all this stuff. Because usually when the Joker's going around buying old amusement parks and visiting his old friends, he's doing a little bit more than just, you know, hanging out. Usually he has like a scheme or something that he's going for. He doesn't just go to popular nightclubs because the music is nice. That's not what he does. It doesn't feel like him. It doesn't feel like him at all. And I get it, everyone loves Harley Quinn. But I like the Harley Quinn backstory because it's all about the Joker slowly getting further and further deeper into her mind through slow manipulation. But in this, it's played so quickly and so briefly that it doesn't leave anywhere near the same impact. I also agree that how their relationship is written all lovey-dovey is really obnoxious. Not because I find it morally objectionable, but simply because I think the abusive side of the original relationship is potentially the most interesting. Like, there's this awful scene where Harley's all like, "You ain't afraid of guns, but you're afraid of my love."
Do it!
Can I also mention that no live-action Joker has quite captured how both terrifying and hilarious the DC Animated Universe Joker is? Like, the DC Animated Universe Joker, he has like puns and stuff.
I, on the other hand...
Man, he was cool. The weirdest part, though, will be when they try to give some fan service lines as if this Joker is just like every other incarnation. Like, there's this really weird point in the scene I just brought up where the Joker just stops and goes,
I'm not a real person, you see, I'm just an idea. I'm just an idea, that's what it is.
He's being interviewed at a job.
Yeah.
Mr. Joseph Kerr, as you have down here on your resume, could you tell us what special skills that you possess?
I have no skills. I'm not a real person. I'm an idea.
Look, man, you're not an idea. You'd be an idea if you just appeared and disappeared without any commotion. You'd be a concept if you didn't go around to fancy nightclubs and if you didn't drive around in an expensive car. I bring those 2 points up a lot because it's all we know about this incarnation of the Joker. I get that they're going for like a Heath Ledger thing here, since he talked about the concept of being the Joker a lot in that movie, and I'd be lying if I said that it didn't annoy me a tiny bit that no one in The Dark Knight talks like actual characters. Instead, they all talk like they're analyzing the movie that they're currently in. But you know why The Dark Knight gets a pass in doing that kind of stuff? Because it's a good movie, with suspense, and action, and good characters. Because you see, when the characters in that movie talk about what they represent, they're kind of right, and it makes sense in the positions that they're in that they would say these things. It's not like they just say lines randomly when nothing significant is going on.
Like, he's talking to Harley Quinn as a psychiatrist. So, Mr. J, if you were a musical instrument, what would you be? Symbol.
Harley Quinn is the least helpful person in this movie, and this movie features a character who throws boomerangs and a character whose only purpose is to get his head blown up. She is the second person they introduce, and why she is needed is never expanded upon.
I'll come.
For most of the movie, she just has a baseball bat, and that's it. It just looks dumb. Finally, there's this woman who found this old alien thing that made like an alien take control of her body. I know people are going to be telling me that this witch thing isn't actually an alien and that it's a god, but dialogue makes it pretty clear that these aren't really gods and the humans just thought they were gods, so they have to be aliens. Fuck you. It's said that if you have the heart of this witch alien thing, you can control it. So they find it and they try to keep stabbing it to make her do stuff. But then after they activate the Avengers Initiative, it is enacted and she goes rogue, resurrects her brother, and starts blowing up a city. We go from having spent at least half an hour on the setup from the film directly into what is basically the third act. So the big bad government rounds together all of the suicide people against their will. It's mentioned at some point that this woman knows how to make people act against their interests for the sake of national security. But that basically boils down to them all having bombs in their necks. A movie with an imagination might have introduced something that each character wants outside of freedom, so that they have a reason to do this thing that they usually wouldn't want to do other than, oh geez, gee willikers, I sure don't want to die right now. Oh, load him up so my head might explode. So they go into the city with all these military dudes and they walk around for a very long time because they have to get to the big building on foot. And it's basically like 20 minutes of, hey, do you think we could escape? I don't know, probably. Then they discover some of the mutations created by the aliens. YourMovieSucks.org in his review called these putty patrollers, and that's so amazingly accurate that I'm going to have to steal it. They aren't any more difficult to kill than any humans, they aren't enhanced in any way, they just have a layer of bubble wrap around their head. I figure the only reason they did this is because if you did a shot like this with an actual human, it'd probably be hard to get anything less than an R rating. Then there's this long scene of them just killing as many of the zombies as they can. It's just basically like a shot of them shooting, a shot of the zombies getting blown up, a shot of them shooting, a shot of the zombies getting blown up. Then there's this really cringy set of moments where Harley tries to talk to everyone as if she's still a psychiatrist, and it's just really forced and unfunny, and the only thing it tells me about them as characters is that Harley Quinn is fucking annoying. Then they go around and they save the woman from the beginning of the movie, who apparently is in the battle zone. She'd been communicating with them the whole time, and this is the only point where I realized that she was actually in the city. Not only in the city, but right next to the actual building that's getting blown up. Then the Joker comes and rescues Harley Quinn, just so his helicopter can blow up and the audience can pretend to believe that he's actually dead. Oh wow. That's too bad. Hope he doesn't show up just before the credits roll. Then the aliens capture the politician woman so they can drain her military secrets from her, so now they know what parts of the world to blow up. Will Smith then finds the classified folder and reads the first half an hour of the movie, and demands to have the plot explained to everyone else on the team. This is my favorite part by far, because as soon as all of the non-superpowered non-gods realize that they're going up against a superpowered alien god, they just all decide to give up and leave. That's pretty funny. The bar scene is the only part of the movie that I kinda liked at the time, because instead of trying to be edgy and force out banter between the characters, they just all sit around and talk about stuff. But then Harley starts to run her mouth about how Diablo should own the fact that he killed his kids because society made him do it? And then after that, the scene goes back to being really cringy and terrible. The military dude who's been helping them explains that he was also sleeping with the human version of the witch, and now everyone feels really invested in saving the day and killing the aliens. I wish I could say the same for myself.
Lady, you are evil!
So most of the cast goes to distract the Big Brother god, while Croc and some swimmer people go underground to set off a bomb. That way the bomb will go off and kill the Big Brother god, because apparently explosives kill aliens in this movie. Sometimes that isn't a thing, so you guys are very lucky. It's here that Diablo unleashes his final form, and it's fucking hilarious. It looks like a skeleton dressed up in a really racist Native American costume. Meanwhile, all of the cast yells super supportive statements at the special effect that isn't really there. So then they blow one of the aliens up, and Diablo sacrifices himself so they can do this. It's super sad, I presume, because they never bring that character up again.
Hey!
Then Harley pulls the heart out of the witch, and they blow up her portal thing, and they crush the heart so the witch dies, but the woman is fine. Great. Also, everyone goes back to jail, but Harley gets rescued at the last minute. What? The Joker? But he died! The part of Suicide Squad I liked most were the credits. That's not a joke. It's a pretty good song. Suicide Squad was clearly trying to, as the USA Today put it, raise a middle finger to the comic book establishment. But in the end, what happened was that they tried to adhere to all of the rules of the new age of comic book movies without actually understanding what made those kind of fun to begin with. Cinematically, it's so pitched down that I would occasionally have trouble seeing what was happening. More than once, I caught myself tilting the screen of my laptop down just to offset the white values. There are brief snippets of memorable character moments layered throughout this whole thing, but overall, a lot of it just feels like it was written by committee.
Pussies.
The plot doesn't make any sense, and it has no knowledge of pacing, or focus, or even the very stories that it's trying to adapt. The thing that makes this truly so upsetting is that this has basically ruined each and every single character that is introduced in this. Could you ever see them making a Batman movie where Deadshot is a bad guy that Batman has to stop? No. Of course not. All these characters within the DC film universe are now anti-heroes. Forever. The Joker is the exception to this, but he's so badly performed that it's still hard to imagine a film where he's actually the main star. The Joker is easily the best DC villain, and now he just permanently sucks forever. I think this movie might have killed superhero flicks for me. After watching this, when I look at all these other superhero movies that I'm supposedly supposed to be looking forwards to, all I can think is, wow, I wonder how they're gonna ruin that one. Suicide Squad has a lot of problems. It has hokey acting, it has cringy writing, it has blatant, off-putting music, It doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and overall, it probably isn't very good at all. That's all you need.